We are going to share some unpopular opinions today on Revolution Beauty, Revolution skincare / makeup obsession, because they have like 6 names. But this is essentially what nobody will tell you about Revolution Beauty. There's a lot of opinions surrounding this line, and specifically their strategy or lack thereof. And if you're confused, let's dive in, because does this brand have a story? Before we dissect and analyze this inexpensive but semi-shady brand, I do want to make it clear that I have been in the industry for 10 years as both an expert working in skincare and also in the influencer world. And I've seen a lot. At the end of the day, I'm a consumer first, and I believe that people should have access to brands that match their morals and values and give them skin results that they can rely on and trust. And that's why I make these videos, to dig apart what's inside of these products and inside of these brands to help you make inspired and empowered choices. Revolution Skincare started in the UK and recently came over to America. They're specifically in Ulta. They are a drugstore priced line, but before they even were Revolution Skincare, they've had like 6 different names, and they actually started in makeup. They started in makeup as, I think, Revolution Makeup, and then they did I Heart Revolution, and then they also did a Target exclusive, which I think was Makeup Obsession. I could be wrong about these, but people off the bat either loved them or hated them. You see, this brand, especially when they started in makeup, was known as a dupe brand. And essentially, they would go around copying other concepts at less expensive prices. They did a lot of this with Too Faced. If you look at the chocolate and the peach palette, they titled them differently, but they copied colors and made the layout almost exactly the same. They did the same thing to some Urban Decay palettes. At first, they looked like an identical knockoff, and then later on, they kind of changed up the palettes so that it did look different and it told like a different color story, if you will. They also took on some Hourglass highlighters. At first, when I looked at these, I didn't think they were a total dupe, but then when you see the swatches, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. It makes sense. And they even did a couple things when it comes to foundation and concealer. Specifically, there was a Benefit concealer that a lot of people said that they knocked off or ripped off, and the Tarte Shape Tape concealer also looks like it was targeted and made into a dupe. I didn't actually know this until I started researching this, but Laura Lee, who I don't watch, did a video kind of comparing them, and someone really smart in the comments kind of broke down the amount that you were getting for the dollar amount you were paying, and it came out to be like $21 versus $24 or $27, so it wasn't as inexpensive as people thought. But overall, from the makeup side, a lot of people started to hate this brand because it looked like they were just ripping off, you know, these high-end or these nice brands. I have to kind of play devil's advocate because I don't think it's okay to steal someone else's intellectual property, but I do think that competition in the marketplace is a good thing. And if you notice, when Revolution did their knockoff of the Tarte Shape Tape, they were priced at drugstore prices, but they actually had like 15 shades, which is arguably more inclusive than Tarte Cosmetics' launch was, because that whitewashing and that shade issue was a huge problem that they didn't address very well. Revolution Makeup actually did something good in the fact that they were a little bit more diverse with their colors than Tarte was. And then when it comes to the Benefit one, again, it kind of looks like a direct knockoff, but looking at the other side, Benefit Cosmetics is not cruelty-free. Revolution Beauty is not only 100% cruelty-free, but they have a lot of vegan formulas and they're fragrance-free. So for somebody like me who couldn't use or chooses not to use the Benefit product because of what it does to animals, it's kind of nice to have competition in the marketplace so that I can try a similar product without having to exploit other creatures. But that being said, kind of brings us into the skincare. They launched their skincare, I want to say 2018, end of 2018, 2019, and unfortunately, they started to do some of the shady, dupey stuff. Again, where do you draw that line between being original and being inspired by a brand versus just ripping them off? And a lot of people have issues when it comes to this and The Ordinary. If you can take a look, the product packaging looks almost the same, and if you look at some of the top products, they're even titled similarly, such as the 10% niacinamide and 1% zinc, and the 30% AHA plus BHA peeling solution. These look almost identical to The Ordinary, which is a brand that you know I love. And I've actually put these face to face with The Ordinary to compare ingredients and how they work, because when I saw this happening, I as well got curious. Revolution Skincare is kind of like that girl that means well, but is just an idiot, and you have to remind her, hey, this isn't okay. For example, you're all in a group text, someone shows you what they're going to be wearing to the party or to their wedding, and then Revolution shows up wearing the exact same thing. And you almost have to take her by the shoulders and like shake her and be like, girly, you look great and all, but that's not okay. Like, that's really mean to do. Or to take that to the next level, it's again like a friend group where someone just went through a breakup and then Revolution went over and was like, ooh, I'm gonna date that person now. And it's almost like, okay, do you really think this is a good idea, or are you just an idiot? You just kind of want to talk some sense into her. Because again, I think that she means well, but she's going about things the wrong way. And that's really where people are getting pissed off as well as confused. So let's dig into that a little bit deeper, because Revolution makeup didn't even start until 2014. The brand actually was concepted or thought up in 2013 by two guys actually in a kitchen, and 6 months later they came out with their first makeup product. Now that's a little bit concerning. We're going to talk about this fast beauty and fast fashion in just a second, but something that I think is good that they did was really focused on inclusivity. Inclusivity and lack thereof in the beauty and skincare spaces is still something that needs to be more discussed and more addressed. But back in 2013, 2014, it was even less discussed than it is now. And the two founders at the time decided to create this line while not only being inexpensive, but having these morals and values, such as being cruelty-free, fragrance-free, and inclusive. If we actually read like what the brand is about, their whole tagline is better skincare, better makeup. We believe in making high-performance, targeted solutions with the latest ingredients, fast and accessible to everyone, with transparent and affordable prices, a 100% cruelty-free range, and a standout vegan and fragrance-free option. We're creating a revolution in skincare. They were also really open-minded about doing campaigns that were anti-Photoshop, and if you actually look on their website, I was surprised to see this, but they have an anti-slavery clause, essentially about how their supply chain is set up to avoid exploiting others for raw ingredients, materials, or in the workspace, which again is really surprising, not only because it's appreciated, but because you don't expect, you know, a line that's selling $5 to $10 products to do that and to be so committed to that sustainability, which I like. So again, when the line was first founded, that sounds great, but then we get back to this issue where they're launching products within 6 months. How much research and formulation and testing can you really do if you're building a brand in just 6 months? I get that both of the men that started this had like 15 to 20 years in the industry, so they probably had manufacturing contacts, they probably had raw ingredient suppliers, but it's a little bit quick. And since then, one of the biggest criticisms that both the makeup line and the skincare line has gotten has been how many launches they push and how overhyped it is. And this is something that I can totally attest to. It's kind of like this makeup or this beauty burnout. They are one of like the top 3 brands that is literally the fast fashion of the beauty world. I would say that Revolution Beauty and Skincare, ColourPop, and Morphe are really guilty of this. Some of the brands have even stated this as being like a positive. Fast beauty is not something to be proud of, in my opinion, especially because as consumers, it doesn't allow us to purchase, consume, and appreciate products. And that's where we get into the other issue of quality. If you're pushing things out this quickly, can you actually have good quality? This is where it gets into what influencers won't tell you, specifically behind the scenes about PR, about what influencers get sent, about what we get to test and try, and also about collaborations. If you notice, Revolution Skincare is constantly doing collaborations. Limited edition palettes, limited edition skincare lines, jelly masks, etc. And because of that, obviously, an influencer who gets to work with a brand, it's really exciting for them. They want to talk about it, promote it, use it, has their name on it. It's kind of like an ego push. You know what I mean? If you had an option for a makeup line or a skincare line to reach out to you, put your name on a product, would you not do that? Would that not be a nice ego boost? But because of that, a lot of these products are really overhyped by influencers. And when it comes down to the quality, it isn't always there. I specifically was sent some products back when they were launching the skincare line, and I also got my hands on some of the makeup products. I want to be clear, I was speaking to people that I believe were part of the PR team. A company can have PR called public relations. Think of it as like an assistant who answers the phone for you. You could pick up your own house phone and talk to someone, if anyone even has a house phone, or you could hire somebody to answer the phone for you and have conversations for you. That's essentially what a PR company does for a brand, and it gets them in contact with influencers, with magazine writers, with media, etc. to talk about their their new launches and what they're doing. I've had a great job speaking with the PR team. I think that they are wonderful, intelligent people. But even though I had a good experience there, I cannot talk to the brand themselves because I have not spoken to the founders. However, I did have some feedback on some of the products that I left in an email, and I was very impressed because as per the email screenshots, they said that they would share my feedback with the team, which was appreciated. And the makeup products that I tried were the mascara and the chocolate palette, which was like a ripoff or a dupe of the Too Faced palette. I was personally impressed with it and impressed with the color payoff. However, specifically with the makeup, it isn't always that good. On the makeup side of Revolution, it's either really hit or miss. It's either a new holy grail product or a dumpster fire. Some of the products have horrible pigmentation, they have horrible payoff, they're chalky and crusty, and there was even a scandal that was kind of pushed under the rug when it comes to moldy eyeshadow palettes. I didn't know about this until I was researching this video, but apparently a couple years ago there was some drama when Tati reviewed a makeup palette that was by Revolution Makeup in combination with Emily, who's another great YouTuber. Again, I don't subscribe to the drama, so I don't really know what happened. All I know is that the quality was criticized. I thought that the color story was beautiful. I didn't personally use the product, so I can't say, but I do know that their quality is either really hit or really miss. And specifically when it came to this palette, some people were getting it and it had mold on it. Now, Revolution Beauty, I think they should have addressed this. They did not address it publicly, but they did act really quickly, and I believe that they accepted returns and they did refund people, which is appreciated. Again, from a consumer standpoint, it would have been nice to have like an official statement, but I also get that they don't want to draw attention to the fact that their eyeshadow palettes were growing mold. For what it's worth, and from what I know, they did handle it well. And again, that was Makeup Revolution, so it wasn't the skincare products. But it does bring into question that if that did happen with some of the makeup products, are some of the skincare products susceptible to some of the same manufacturing conditions? Again, whether that's cross-contamination or being too old, etc. We also kind of have to look at the pricing. Again, the pricing is very inexpensive, which is super appreciated, especially if you're on a budget, you're looking to try out some of these new skincare products like Gold, the quinoa face mask, but you don't want to spend an arm and a leg. The thing is that even if you're only paying like $5, $10, you still don't deserve to get a moldy product. Again, I don't think that's happened with a skincare line, but if anybody has had that happen, please post a comment and let me know. James Welsh is someone whose content I love consuming and who I really admire from a content, honesty, and opinion standpoint. He absolutely hates this brand and he refuses to review them. His point is specifically that it is not for his demographic, and when you look at it, they do seem kind of like a young, fun, almost like teenage brand just because of the way they are packaged and marketed. For me, I care more about ingredients than I do about the marketing. If it works, I don't care how it smells, I don't care what it looks like, I want it to do what it's supposed to do. However, that does bring us into how these products actually work and whether or not they're dupes for the ordinary, because that pisses a lot of people off. Unpopular opinion here, some of the products I think are actually pretty darn good. They specifically have a couple of serums that even though they're named identically to the ordinary pretty much, they actually have a different list of ingredients. And so I would say that they're for a different skin type. I've done a whole video comparing the Revolution Beauty to the Ordinary's products, which you can see here. They are not a replacement of the Ordinary, but I can see where people got pissed off. The other thing is that they did launch some products that I just kind of found, they're not a scam, but I would describe them as scammy. Again, built into the Skincare Revolution founding philosophy is trying out these new trends at affordable and quick prices and timelines. But that means that you come out with things like this, which is Gold Elixir Serum. It's basically rosehip oil with a little bit of gold elixir. But when you look at it, it's also got a bunch of grapeseed in there. It's got some ingredients that you didn't expect. And then it doesn't really have gold. It's a bunch of tin oxide and titanium oxide and iron oxides. They also had the quinoa peel. I'm sorry, that product was not a peel. I get that they were trying to be like crafty with it, but A, it didn't work, and B, when you looked at the ingredients, it really didn't have a ton of peeling ability. That to me was a disappointment, but also a $10 disappointment is not as bad as a $50 disappointment, if you know what I mean. I also did a review a while ago of their EGF serum, their epidermal growth factor, for $14, which again, not the best serum on the market. It had its issues, but epidermal growth factor is also not a proven science yet. And to have a vegan plant-based formula for $14, I'd rather spend my $14 on that rather than go over and spend $90 on something that has this key ingredient that isn't totally proven by science yet. So again, the way I found out about this brand was actually being approached for a collaboration, which should be obvious. Did not take, did not do. I did accept products for testing purposes, and then I posted that video comparing them to The Ordinary. A lot of people don't like this brand because they are seen as a gimmicky brand or they rip people off, but this is where it comes down to like the final verdict on this brand. Again, an unpopular opinion, but I think that competition in the marketplace is good. Think about it. If The Ordinary was the only brand out there that had inexpensive skincare that was a little bit more science-minded, they could raise their prices all they wanted to and nothing would stop them. I think that having brands like Revolution Beauty kind of puts checks and balances in the market. Now, there are brands like the Inky List or like Open Formula. Those I would say are both comparative to The Ordinary, but they don't name things the same. They don't try to rip off another brand. So that's where you kind of have to walk that line of what is inspiration versus being a copycat. And again, regardless of how you feel about that, I think it's still important to acknowledge that competition in the marketplace is good at the end of the day for consumers because overall it does protect us. Again, having a line that is built into anti-slavery practices, that is built into inclusivity, that does have cruelty-free options that are not sold in mainland China at inexpensive prices is something I really appreciate. But again, a lot of the products are hit and miss, whether it's the pigmentation from the eyeshadows or it's the absorbability from one of their serums. Again, she's like that friend who seems to mean well, but she just needs to be called out and told like, hey, I know that what you are doing is because you admire this other person, but it's not okay to copy their outfit like that. This is kind of harsh to say, but I feel like Revolution Skincare is just a teenager who hasn't grown up yet and doesn't really know right from wrong. Again, I'm not going to speak to the makeup portion because my life, my blood, and my passion is really skincare. When it comes to skincare, it's kind of like right here. It's like a maybe. It's on the fence because again, some of the formulas are really good, but others really, really suck. The philosophy and the morals of the brand are really, really good, but the production and the pushing of the products are not so good. Overall, does it get the CAS pass? I would say like 55% CAS pass and 45% no CAS pass. It's really hard because it kind of is in the middle there. This is one of the first brands that I've been really divided on because again, they talk a good talk, but do their actions back that up? They created moldy, nasty palettes, but they did take them off the market and dealt with it appropriately. They are really blatantly copying other people, but that also creates competition in the marketplace that at the end of the day protects us, the consumers. I just wish they would slow down a little bit, and I wish that influencers weren't so quick to overhype them, because then that just leaves us with expectations that aren't met. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you can't clap with this, oh my god. That like button and whoosh, that subscribe button. If there is another brand out there that you want the influencer insider deep dive on, please post it in the comments and let me know. But overall, always remember to be beautiful inside and out. I love you, beautiful butterflies, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.